should you keep a record of your drone flights? Are you legally required to keep a logbook? Why would you want to keep records? If you have any of these questions, stick around and I'll do my best to answer them. Whether you're flying your drone commercially under CFR Part 107 or under the exemption for recreational flyers, neither of these require a drone pilot to keep a logbook. The only legal requirement to do so would be under certain FAA waiver applications where you might have to show proof of training for the pilot and visual observer. But outside of that, you have no legal requirement to keep a flight logbook. Now, as a remote pilot in command, you have the full responsibility to keep up with your drone's maintenance and flight worthiness. With whatever mess you and your little buddy might get into where you become part of an investigation, it would be very difficult to show that you were making every effort possible to carry out safe flights based solely on your recollection of what and when you performed any maintenance or repairs. For this reason alone, it would be a good idea to keep a log. If you've obtained your Part 107 commercial license and plan on doing business, a logbook is a great marketing tool. Being able to show potential clients a record of your flights not only shows your experience, but presents an air of professionalism that could be the tipping point that gets you a job. Another benefit of keeping a flight log for your business is that when it comes time to get insurance, you're going to be asked all types of questions, and being able to give detailed information will help you get the best price on your policy. A logbook will also help you when you go to sell your drone, as you can turn your logs over showing that you were conscientious with keeping up with any issues the drone might have had. I've kept a logbook ever since my days as a private pilot, and once you get in the habit, it only takes a minute or two to log your day's flights. There's a link in the description to a PDF file of the logbook that I use. You're welcome to use it as well. All I ask is that you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It will really help me out and I'd greatly appreciate it. Okay, so here's the logbook page that I created and use. It can be printed on your home printer using 8.5 by 11 paper, which folds in half to make a booklet. If you can do double-sided copies, it gives you 4 log pages per sheet. If you can't do double-sided, you just end up with blank pages that you can use to make notes or diagrams of flight information. If you don't have a printer, just take the file up to a print center and they'll be able to hook you up with what you need. All right, let's take a quick look at what I've included on the log sheet. All right, here we have our page for our Small Unmanned Aircraft Systems Pilot Safety and Flight Log. And at the top, we have an entry for the flight log page number. These will be sequentially as you go through the book. We have a spot for the date and time and whether your flight was during the day or nighttime hours. We also have spots for piloting command and for the aircraft ID number, and this would be the registration number that you received from the FAA for your drone. We have a spot for location, city and state, and then latitude and longitude if you want to enter that. Our next area is for airspace classification and your authorization number that you might receive from the FAA when you're doing a LANCE request. They text you a number, authorization number, and this is where you'd want to enter that. And you want to indicate what airspace classification you're in, whether it's B, C, D, E, or G. Next, we have a weather briefing type, whether it's METAR, TAF, or other. I use UAV forecast a lot, and I'll enter in my wind speed and direction, visibility, temperature, things like that show that I'm aware of my environment and that I'm taking every effort to make a safe flight. Then down here we have our session log, which we have our flight times, our start and end of each individual flight. We can log up to 8 flights on a page. We get our flight time total and what battery we used for that particular flight. And then we have an area for flight notes, and this would be what your mission was, if it was training purposes or if you were out doing a job, and where you can enter locations and lat and longitude if it changes from flight to flight. We have our session totals. The session forward, that's from the previous page. You bring that forward, you add your total, the session total and your session forward, and you get your total flight time. Now our next section is for notes on safety issues, malfunctions, and any repairs or maintenance that you might have provided. And at the very bottom, we have a spot to certify the information contained in the log was reviewed by the pilot in command and is true and correct, and a place for the pilot in command to sign certifying the document. All right, here's our completed logbook where we got our pages back from the printer, and we folded them in half, and then I bound the spine by running a sewing machine up the back, a little leather sewing machine that I have, but you could use staples, and if you don't have a heavy-duty stapler, I would punch the holes in the spine with an awl first before I tried to put the staples through, and then once I slid the staples through, I just bend them over to secure it together. And then you see it with the cover sheet there. I use 110-pound cardstock, and that in the description as well if you want to use that cover. Well, that wraps it up for this video. I hope you found this information useful, and if you don't already, I hope you start logging your flights. Be safe and have fun.